Hello. Wall Street Journal says LinkedIn might be the best social media channel right now. And we've provided a link in the chat area to Cheryl's how-to article. And also we've included a link to the article itself. So if you're, and we'll put this in the description section on YouTube as well. So get ready to learn the latest tips on how to get the most out of your own participation in LinkedIn. Hello, I'm Sharon Scott Wilson with Resort Trades, your best resource for current resort and hospitality information. And today we're delighted to have Cheryl Cattell as our guest. Cheryl is a digital marketing executive, master certified life coach, LinkedIn trainer, speaker and author, and she empowers people to change their lives so they can be the best version of themselves, to which I can personally attest. She is very inspirational. So we're going to ask Cheryl to provide more detail. And meanwhile, Cheryl, welcome.
Well, thank you. It's so great to be here. As always, Sharon, I love Resort Trades. You guys are some of my favorite people to hang out with.
Well, you're our favorite too.
It was so nice to see you in person last week. Wow.
Oh, yes. So
sitting on the beach under the little warmer was just like sitting by the fireplace.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And I do miss the ocean.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Lilia, for noticing. These are my Valentines. So I'm sharing them with you. I didn't want to keep them to myself. All right. So Carrie, if you're ready, let's fire that puppy up. Let's take a look at what we're talking about today.
And I might also say, let's keep this interactive by using the chat function. I did want to mention also, Cheryl, your article in the most recent edition of Resort Trades, which is Living with Intention Through Adversity and Resilience. Yeah. So, and also be sure and go to resorttrades.com. We'll have this article and others by Cheryl posted on that site. So I'm sorry to interrupt. Cheryl, go ahead.
No problem. No, thanks, Sharon. Yeah, that's my true love. And thank you, Carrie, for putting the link directly to the article. That is an excerpt from my new book that I keep promising it's going to come. And it gets closer and closer every day. So anyway, thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Okay, well, let's get started. So what we already did is we said, let's introduce yourself in chat. And this is how you do, this is about Zoom. This is Webinar Jam. So welcome officially. And I want to also mention to you that the goal of our session together is to end up with some good information about thought leadership, the thought leadership pyramid. But before we do that, a message from our sponsor. BizHack Academy is really the brainchild behind putting together systematic approaches to things that if you follow them, you will achieve your goal. In this case, it's the thought leadership pyramid. BizHack is very active in the community in the digital marketing world, has received some accolades from the AMA, actually an award winner for the kinds of presentations and webinars they give. SCORE, they're a gold level workshop presenter, and they have partnerships with a lot of innovation hubs, startups, entrepreneurial groups. They also were very proud to announce the relationship with the mayor of Miami's office in providing resources to startups. So thank you, Marge. I love you too, Marge. Marge is one of the students in a class that I'm going to talk to you about today. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into the thought leadership pyramid, and but in the next couple of weeks, Marge will be able to give this presentation. But we're going to also make sure you leave with a score of how well you're doing, or how well you're not doing, and some ideas of how you can rectify the situation. So that's another objective. And then I'm also going to put myself out here. Anyone that wants to have a follow-up call with me, 15 minutes of fame, you can schedule it on my calendar. I'll give you that link at the end. Make sure you really want to do this with me after you spend this next 45 minutes with me. All right. So that's what we're going to do. This is a little bit more about me. I think this, to me, I'm visual. I'm a visual person. This is a better way for me to describe who I am and what I've done. I have worked, and I've been very blessed to have great companies behind me. I've been a vice president, CMO of some great companies, including Bank of America, Travelocity, 10 years with Blue Green Vacations, 8 years with Dow Corning. I know I don't look that old, but it adds up. I also get to spend 4 years of that with Dow Corning overseas. So I've had the opportunity of doing some international marketing work, and that was fun. The other thing about me that when I didn't realize until I put it on this slide visually, every single job I've had, I've also been teaching, training, mentoring, coaching. And that's kind of represented over here. Right now, I'm an adjunct professor at FAU, and I teach in the School of Business and in their marketing department. No surprise, a digital marketing class. I also have taught for University of San Francisco, UVA, McIntire School of Business, and Central Michigan University. And then the last thing, or the more nonprofit related, I started two interactive marketing associations, one in South Florida and one when I was in Dallas. So that's represented here. And then what I'm doing now is I'm working with BizHack to bring some of the things, the blending together of these platforms with a leadership experience, and sharing with you how to take your presence to the next level, to become seen as a go-to person in your industry for the things that you do. And that's what we call thought leadership. But where does the pyramid come from? Oh, well, here you go. So what we've done is we've created a way, a methodology that if you follow it, you will actually see significant results. As I said, thank you, Lilia, for joining here. As I said, what we'll do is we're going to talk through each one of these layers. So starting at the business foundation, the business story, your personal profile is really where the whole thing starts. And so that's why you'll see a lot of the tips and tricks and resources I'll share with you today are going to be around getting that foundation right. Then once that's right, so think about it like getting the shop ready to open. You don't want to have broken glass. You don't want to have a mess in the corner. We're going to sweep it out and get it nice and shiny and bright and new and ready to do business. So the next step we'll talk about is knowing your target. And this is really important because if you don't know who you're talking to, you don't know if you're speaking the right language or the right keywords or the right hashtags. So this is kind of converting this whole idea of who's your avatar, who's your ideal customer into LinkedIn language. And the next step up, once you know who you're talking to and you know their language, that's when you start focusing in on how to get discovered. And that's where you translate it into your keyword phrases and hashtags. The next level up is what we call enter the fray, where you start doing social listening, social participation, maybe some competitive research. Who are you? How are you different? What's unique about you? Where can you make a difference? And then we encourage you to take a stand and start jumping into the conversation, being maybe a little controversial. Again, the idea is you need to stand for something. So you can't be a thought leader by, shaking your head and agreeing with everything happening around you. So then finally, after you've gone through the top of the pyramid, this is where we get noisy. And that's where you've scaled your connections, you've formalized your customer journey, you've got an irresistible offer, everything is working in harmony, and you're ready to get noisy and do this at scale. So That's what we're going to go through today, and I'm going to give you some resources that will help you. I wanted to share, however, for people that have followed this methodology, these are the kinds of increases you could expect. So, for example, a social selling index, you're probably saying, what the heck is that? And what is she talking about? You're going to get your score today. And what we see is for people in the class that focus on this thought leadership pyramid, they're able to increase their social selling index by over 50%. So that's pretty exciting. I'll show you why it's exciting, because the higher your social selling index, the more time your posts will spend in the feed, in the news feed. So this is an important score. It also is a good way for you to see, how am I doing? Another thing with the thought leadership pyramid, we encourage at least 1 to 2 posts per week. And again, for those following this methodology, are seeing about a 340% increase in posts, which also feeds into their increase in their SSI. That's what I shorten it. Also, when they've created these posts, they're able to see the post views go up by over 170%. And we will talk about how to do that, things you can do that will help get your post in the feed longer. One of the ways to do this is to have a higher social selling index. So it all goes around and around. And then this is where you start to see pay dirt. When people search for your keywords, in my case, digital marketing, life coach, I had somebody put that in the search. My name came at the top of the list. No surprise, because I've optimized for those words. And then I would show up in the search appearances. That's the last number here. And so by the keyword work that I would do, I was able to increase my search result appearances by over 90%. And then my profile views, meaning I show up in the list, somebody clicks through and starts reading my profile. So a 50% increase in that stat. So this is what you have to look forward to. It's going to be all worth it. We like to talk about weekly rituals. These are not duties or tasks. These are rituals that you will do, or what we recommend you do each week. Make it a schedule on your calendar. Set aside an hour. Go into LinkedIn. Invite 10 people. Post at least once a week. We recommend twice if you can. Write and request 5 recommendations, and make sure you're paying attention to your metrics. So the metrics that we talked about here are all part of your profile page, and you can see these numbers and see how they're increasing or how they're changing over time. All right. I'm going to introduce you to Rosemary Ravenol. She's the owner of RMR Communications. She has been through the program, and she's a wonderful example of putting some of the things I'm going to share with you into practice. So I thought it would help you instead of just speaking theoretically. I'd like you to understand a little bit more about the application, so you can see someone who actually took this and ran with it. All right, so she does coaching, speaking coaching for bilingual executives. And one of the things she did as part of her thought leadership was to create and trademark something called your Zoom score to measure your on-screen effectiveness. So she is really standing out. The great thing about it, as of the class, she had generated almost 500 people who had taken the score. And the great news is 80% of them signed up for her newsletter to be in the know. So this is a great example of taking something to the next level and being seen as the go-to. So this is also, I'm sharing with you, this is her personal profile here on the left, and on the right is her company profile. And so I share this with you because I will recommend, and all of the things I'm going to be talking about today is on the personal profile. And in terms of your split of time, I recommend 90% on your personal and probably 10% or less on your company page. And the reason I do that or say that is because LinkedIn is a social media platform where people come together. And so that's what we want to focus on, is the coming together of people, getting to know someone. Is this person credible? Is this person trustworthy? Is this the kind of person I want to do business with? If they were looking for information about RMR communications, they would go to her website. There's no reason to, there's no more information here on LinkedIn as there is on her website. So I just want to reinforce that. I get that question a lot, and I want to make sure that that's set in your mind, and that's where we're going to focus our time. So her statement is, my company helps bilingual C-suite executives master high-stakes speeches, meetings, and media interviews. So that's a little bit about Rosemary. You're going to see her come back into our conversation as we go into some of the concepts. All right, so she's here to bring it to life. Okay. Now, one thing I do want to bring your attention to is in the files. If you look in the middle strip, there's a thing called files. And if you go to the files, you'll see something called Your Thought Leadership Pyramid Checklist. I recommend you go ahead and download this, follow along. These are the sections of things I will talk about. So these are the 6 groups, or 7 actually, that we're going to go through. The 6 layers, those are starting at the bottom, the foundation, that's the first layer, knowing your target, and so on and so forth. So that's the 6 levels of the pyramid. But to get started, we're gonna look at the SSI index. But before we do that, I also want to invite you to, in the chat should be a link to this score sheet. So this score sheet is meant for you as we go along and talk about this. Yep, there it is. Thank you, Carrie. The TLP score. And if you click on that, you can follow along and give yourself a score on each one of these attributes as we go through it. All right, so this is interactive. I'll ask you to share your scores in the chat, and we'll start with that right now. Let's start with the first one. The first block and the first score you're going to want to give or share is called your social selling index. And the link has just appeared magically. Carrie's amazing. She's a mind reader. It's TryBizHack. Oh, there is a typo. That's my fault. Try.bizhack.com SSI. Please use the second one. I forgot the .com. That's my problem. I'm sorry. Oh, and it's the wrong on the slide. That's where it came from. So what am encouraging you to do is, everyone who's on the call, if you would please go to this page, make sure you're logged into LinkedIn. It's part of LinkedIn. If they are going to take an assessment of your profile and your activity, how you've engaged, how you've built relationships, they're going to give you a score. And I'd love for you to share the score in the chat. So, for example, the one we're looking at, this is my score, and I got a 76 out of 100. And I was not very happy with that. Oh, 53. Great job, Carrie. Woohoo! I think that's gone up quite a bit since we met last. Very good. Nice work. So I didn't think 76 was very good. However, if I think back on my original scores, they were probably in the 30s. And so everybody has to start somewhere. Don't be shy. Mike, good job. 70. Very good. What I'm going to explain, and Gav, 32. That's a good place to start. You can get most improved. The number in the middle is the raw score, and then the numbers at the top are where how you compare on the left to anyone who has indicated that they're in the same industry as you. So for me, this is advertising, sales, and marketing. No, I think it's advertising and marketing is my industry. And there I'm in the top 1%. Good job, Sharon, 57. I think that's also up. Now, the next number, this one here, 3%, This is all the people I'm connected to. And this is how I compare to those in my connected network. And there, unfortunately, I'm connected to some pretty active people. So I went from 1% down to 3%. But these are the numbers that will help you, guide you as you start to make improvements. The little question marks, I highly encourage you to pick one, hover over it, and see what it's telling you you could do. For example, the first one says, make sure your profile's complete. Make sure you're writing it with your customer in mind. Become a thought leader by publishing meaningful posts, articles, content. So, oh, Marge, my goodness, 71. Look at that. Marge is in the thought leadership pyramid class right now. So good way to go, Marge. All right, so that's a little bit about it. Don't be shy. Feel free to continue to share as you get your score. All right, so Sharon, now you know, take the class. Marge is living proof. So here we are, the first score that you want to record on that score sheet. That's the TLP score link that is in the chat. And you want to go ahead and record your SSI score. So for example, Marge at 71 gets 9 out of 10. Very good. Marge, you're not far from getting a perfect score, a perfect 10. So keep it up, stick with it. And so go ahead and record that, the scores that you've been putting into chat. Okay. Why is SSI important? I want to share this. This is from the annual LinkedIn algorithm report. There is a group of people who look at the algorithm for LinkedIn every year. They spend hundreds and hundreds of hours trying to imagine what it is that LinkedIn has done and how to make sure your post, your contributions are maximizing the algorithm. So this is the latest results. They're finding that anyone that sort of the normal range of time in feed, meaning increased post reach, the benchmark is 45 to 59. So most of us are there. Gav's just got a little bit more work to do. If you are in the 60 to 74 range, you get 10% more time in the feed. 75 to 90, 20% more, and over 90, 30%. So this number does matter. And what it's telling you is the more work you do on your SSI, the more successful you'll be in terms of getting reach with your content. So very good. Such a great example, Marge. Thank you. All right, so let's start at the bottom of the pyramid. And I want to remind you that LinkedIn is a long game. This is going to take time. It's going to take your effort, blood, sweat, and tears. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Everything I'm going to talk to you about today is free. And that's the beauty. However, it does take time and thought, because you can't be a thought leader without putting some thought to it, right? So if you take the steps necessary now, you can set yourself up for long-term success. Once you get your profile, once you get yourself established, it could literally serve you for decades to come. Unlike advertising, without a foundation, you'll get a flash in the pan, but you won't get that steady, sustained flow of business. And I have to tell you that the person who searched for digital marketing life coach literally became a customer, signed up as a new client that day. So it does work, and I didn't spend a dime, and it does continue to work. So it's worth it. Let's just take a moment to step back and see what's been happening with LinkedIn. And Sharon mentioned the Wall Street Journal article. The Wall Street Journal article, that there is a link in here. If you look at it, scroll back. They basically they think the author thinks that LinkedIn right now is the best social network available, and the main reason he thought so was that people behave themselves. This is a professional network where people hire people, where people grant contracts to people, And so people are well behaved. And so you don't see this sort of snarky back and forth arguing about politics and so on. And so what the article said was they've even made it easier to be a nice neighborhood. You can actually turn off political posts. They have a new feature to turn off political posts. If you subscribe to LinkedIn Minutes, I'll go through the steps. I do LinkedIn Minutes, and it's just 2 to 3 minutes of how to. And I'll show you how to turn off the political posts. I highly recommend. Oh, thank you, Carrie. You're a mind reader. Yes, there's a link. You can sign up, go to YouTube, and subscribe, please. Everything you want to know how to do on LinkedIn is there. And if it isn't, you're going to text me and tell me, and it'll be there the next day. How's that? Well, maybe not the next day, maybe next week. Okay. We release one every single week. All right. And most of them come from questions I get. So let's talk about the opportunity here. There's over 780 million users right now, and it's ticking up every single second. Half of all social media traffic going to business websites comes from LinkedIn. That's a lot. But what's even more impressive, of all the traffic, 100% of the traffic, 80% of leads from social media are coming from LinkedIn. So not only is it volume, it's definitely quality. So quantity and quality. So per lead, traffic from LinkedIn converts at a much higher rate than any other social media. So I think that's important to keep in mind. And again, this is B2B. This is not for a consumer brand. All right. I want to just pause here for a second and let it dawn on you that 2 people just joined LinkedIn. The growth rate is phenomenal. Steady and constant growth rate. This is the transformation that's happened with LinkedIn that you may not be aware of. And that is, LinkedIn used to be a place where you posted your resume and you found a job, or you went out and hired somebody. That is not the case anymore. LinkedIn is all about thought leadership today. Of course, there's still hiring going on. Of course, there's still recruiting happening. But for the most part, the majority of the content that's happening right now is about thought leadership. Think about this. Less than 5% of all LinkedIn members share content on a weekly basis, and they're generating over 9 billion impressions. This is like having a TV broadcast studio open, waiting for you to wander in and to share your thought leadership with the world. Think about it. All right, so there's the opportunity in a nutshell. I know it is difficult. This is meant to reinforce. Yes, it can be hard. Digital marketing is hard. So who do I hire? How do I measure? Where do I start? And so that's where the digital thought leadership pyramid comes into play. It's a proven process that can help you establish yourself as a thought leader and actually find customers online. So we're going to dive in and talk a little bit about the foundation. Level 1. Here's where we start. As I said before, your store's ready, open for business. To do that, you're going to want to make sure your profile is optimized. You've got all of the key features, you've removed competitors from your profile, and you've maximized your dwell time. What in the world is that, Cheryl? Well, dwell time is measured by LinkedIn. If someone sees you in search results, clicks on your profile, how long did they dwell? How long did they stay? The longer they stay, the more compelling and the more interested LinkedIn thinks someone is. We have ways of improving your dwell time, like adding a video. I call it the Hogwarts effect. When you come to my video or come to my profile page, that static picture turns into me waving at you. Just like when you're in Hogwarts and you walk past the pictures are talking and moving, and I call it the Hogwarts effect. Anyway, so you also need to make sure you have a compelling story of me. What is your purpose? It needs to be clearly stated. It needs to be easy for me to understand and connect to. That's hard to do with a business page. So more from the heart, more authentic, more transparent, and even vulnerable at times. So I wanted to use BizHack as a kind of way of showing this. So their why, remember Rosemary's? She helps bilingual executives in high stakes presentations. BizHack provides businesses a simple way to grow so they can thrive. How do they do that? They teach them storytelling, strategy, they give you software, tips, tricks, etc. And what is the what behind that? The content, the coaching, and the community are all the things that contribute to the BizHack solution of getting businesses growing and thriving. So that's a kind of an example of how you could see that playing out. All right, so we call this the Sweet 16, and it is all of the things that we recommend that you have in place, ready to go, so that your store is open for business and optimized. So I think this little QR code will take you to a list that not only has what it is you need to do, but it has a LinkedIn Minute video tutorial telling you how to do it. So this is very, very juicy, probably the most important thing you need for that bottom level, right? Download the files. Thank you, Carrie. Good reminder. Okay, so we're ready to take score. I would like everyone right now. Is your business open and ready? Is your profile maximized? Do you have all of the key features activated? Do you have your account settings updated, removing competitors? Do you know why the purpose of your company, of what you have to offer? Have you communicated that? And have you got the story of me clear? Go ahead and score yourself 0 to 10 on this level and put the number into the score sheet, the survey, as well as in the chat. And let me know how you score yourself on the foundation, your business story, how you represent. Crickets. Anybody? How are you doing? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move along since we're all being shy. 5. Okay, you're split between two companies. Okay, fair enough. Honestly, that's great. Okay, Mike, 9. Excellent. Okay, I think I'm a 5. Okay, great. There's room for improvement. And so that's now you've got some of the ideas of what we recommend. We've got 16, sweet 16 things you can leave and do today, okay? As well as follow the tutorial. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to level 2, know your target. And so here we recommend that you spend some time really going deep and understanding not just who you were lucky enough to land, but who your ideal customer is. The ones that end up having a long-term relationship with you, the ones who end up spending the most money with you. And just, we recommend do it in persona pairs, and I'll show you an example of that so that you can then make sure that you have 2 ways of reaching that target. There are some audience discovery tools. There's just go ahead and you can Google persona pairs or persona customer personas, and there's some wonderful tools out there that will help you walk you through the thinking of what is it your customer, the ideal customer. And then finally, you want to segment because you do have probably some customers who are less than ideal, and then you have your ideal ones, and then you sort of have your in between. And how did you segment them in terms of what do they look like, what is their demographics, what's their geographics, etc. So I thought I'd share with you, this is Rosemary's, one of her persona pairs. This is Raul, he's her target. You actually can give these personas names in the beer industry. Their ideal target customer is called Joe Sixpack. And so that he has a name. So for Rosemary, Raul is a C-suite executive at a multinational corporation. He was probably born in Latin America. He's studied English in the US or the UK, but still has a heavy accent. He's aspiring to CEO, board of director, chairman of the board of director, and he sometimes struggles with expressing himself in English. He's almost always in a high stakes presentation, and he's a little embarrassed and maybe cautious about being vulnerable. And so he is perfect to work with Rosemary, who can help him with his confidence and coach him to step up and feel more powerful in front of a microphone. The next thing that she did is then start putting some, well, he's probably male, unfortunately, as of now, but that'll change, ladies. He's 45 years old. He's married. He has children. In her case, he lives here in Miami or South Florida. He's in a senior leadership role. He's probably got an MBA, and he's probably got a big ego and a good salary. Now, another pair. So we recommend you do it in pairs. So what's one way I can get to Raul, but another way I could try to go direct, but I also want to identify someone who has access to him and pair them up. And so accessibility may be his executive assistant. So I may want to do a name, gender, age, marriage, etc. for his executive assistant, or maybe his PR agency. So you get the idea that there's more than one way to reach Raul. And so we recommend you always look at two ways. In case you can't get directly to him, you've got another way in to the door. Okay. So, all right, here we are. Let's not be shy this time. Why don't you share what you think your knowing your target audience is based on identifying your target customer, um, having a persona or a persona pair, using data and experience, and making sure that you have a way to track and monitor and continue to nurture these ideal target customers. So tell me on a score of 0 to 10, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. Okay, great. Marge, 7. Gev, 4. Okay, excellent. And if you have several businesses, pick your favorite. Sharon, you don't have to tell us which is your favorite. And Tiffany says 7. Okay, excellent. So you've done some work there. It looks like most of you have done some work. We do recommend make it a little more, what do you call it, formal. Actually, this persona generator here is a great way to make it more formal. SEMrush has a great tool. You just answer some questions, pick a picture, and save it. And you've got it always, and you can update it, add more personas as you start to expand. Start with one, go from there. So excellent. All right, moving right along to get discovered. Level 3. Here, we recommend that you spend time on your keyword phrases and hashtags. There are tools out there. I would just go ahead and Google keyword research tools. And there's SEMrush, there's Ahref, there's a number of tools that will help you understand what volume of search and what difficulty to rank is. However, on LinkedIn, you want to look at hashtags. Now, before I move on from the research tools, another great research tool that you can use is go into LinkedIn and type in the term you're thinking of using. Let me give you an example. So I was working with a client who does Latin America compliance. And so she was trying to reach the Latin America equivalents that work for major companies such as Microsoft, Google, etc. She wanted to be their feet on the street to help them with audits, with local compliance laws, and just to make sure that their staff and team was up to speed and up to par for the Latin American region. So she went in and typed Latin American compliance. And what came back was a whole list of people who have LATAM compliance in their titles. And I'm talking like Vice President LATAM compliance. these were exactly the people she wanted. And so she added to her keywords LATAM compliance and hadn't even thought of it. So that's an example. Go out, look at what your competitors are doing, go and search for those. And on LinkedIn, if you put in the search box hashtag LATAM compliance, you keep clicking on the blue links until you get to a page that has hashtag LATAM compliance, and it will tell you how many people follow that particular word. So what you want to get is sort of a Goldilocks. You don't want to have so few. Like for me, I was looking at spiritual coaching, life coaching, and there's maybe 10 people. But then if I look at digital marketing, there's 30 million people. So you really want to get something kind of in a sweet spot. You don't want to have so much competition, you'll never be able to optimize for it, or the list will be so long of people coming back that it'll be impossible to be at the top. So that's where you want to be. Moving on to hashtags, I recommend for every article that you write, you want to have a general, a specific, and an owned hashtag. So, for example, I write LinkedIn tips, or I record LinkedIn tips. So that is LinkedIn, specifically LinkedIn tips. And then owned is LinkedIn minutes, right? So this gives you an idea. You always want to have 3 hashtags and ideally have 3 @ signs. @ signs are people's names, at Cheryl Cattell, at BizHack, at Microsoft. Whoever you want to be sure to show up in their news feed, you can use an @ sign. So this is how you get discovered, right? And so when and where to use these, you put them in your profile so you're coming up in searches, and you use them in your content. So that's a little tip about how to get discovered. So I thought I would share with you, this is Rosemary. And again, her general hashtags are public speaking, presentation skills, bilingual communication specifically. She's a public speaking coach. She's about media readiness, virtual meetings, video conferencing. And these are the terms that she owns and has even filed trademark applications for. Well, of course, her company name, RMR Communications. Assets is an acronym for one of her products, and Zoom Score is the survey that she has available. She uses them in LinkedIn. She embeds them in her website and very, very much focuses on them for her posts. All right. And this is where I was saying, this is how you can look at hashtags on LinkedIn. If you look at on your My Network page at the top is My Network. If you click down on the left, you'll see hashtags. These are all the hashtags I follow. And you can come and very quickly, right, just at a glance, see where the followers are. So here, the 30,000 LinkedIn skill assessment, that's a pretty good one. However, life coach is not bad, 10,000. Digital marketing, 27 million, probably not a good one. That's too much. And spiritual coaching, 13, probably not enough. So you get the idea. So you're just trying to find a sweet spot. When you're doing hashtags, no spaces between the words, okay? With the @ signs, you do put spaces. So Cheryl space Cattell. All right, here we are, level 3. How do you think you're doing? Have you done the work on keyword phrases, making sure that you've identified those based on what your customer is looking for? Oh, thank you so much. I didn't see you put the persona wizard. Thank you so much, Gary. You're so good. How about hashtags? Have you done the work and thought through general, specific, and owned for each one of your content pillars? What each one of your topics that you want to cover? And then are you always using 3 keywords and 3 hashtags and 3 @ signs? Okay, Marge, 4.5. By the end of the class, you got to be all the way to the top. We'll help make that happen. Okay. All right, and then level 4. Coming around the bend here, this is where you do social listening and competitive research. Here's where you start to narrow and really clarify what is your thought leadership focus. You define it. You have messaging. You have taglines that really clearly show somebody why you, why me, Lord, right? And your content would mirror your thought leadership topics. So at the beginning, we talked about the story of me and the business. And here, as we've gone through this, now you know more and your thought leadership should start to take focus. And that's what we're doing. You're listening, you're replying, you're responding, you're engaging with the people on LinkedIn that are in your industry and on the topics you care about. At this point, we also recommend that you have an irresistible offer. So, for example, for me, I offer free 15-minute consultations, introduction calls to help you understand what it is that you're struggling with and maybe, if possible, how I might help. I also offer downloads, PDFs, which those will be in the file folder area shortly. But those are examples of irresistible offers to get people aware of what it is you have to offer and maybe even aware of what they don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. And so these are some great ways to start engaging people and pulling them into your funnel, into your sales funnel. All right. So we've entered the fray again. Here is Rosemary, a free Zoom score assessment with things you can do to improve your Zoom score. So as I said, this has been a great lead funnel for her. And oh, good. Oh, wonderful. Right. Carrie's too good. So this is Rosemary's link to see more about her Zoom score. It's a great example of irresistible offer. I mean, what's not to love? Of course, we all want to get better, right? All right, so level 4, here's your chance. Let me know where you are in terms of defining your thought leadership focus. Do you have an irresistible offer? Do you have something you can put out there as to get people to engage? Do you have something of value that they want to exchange their contact information with you for? Industry influencers or key prospects, have you identified them and engaged with them? Quickly replying to anyone who engages with you. All right, Carrie, 6 out of 10. We've got some room. Oh, dear Sharon, lots of work ahead. Oh, good. Mike has got some great ideas. Excellent, excellent. I think Sharon, you said you might be signing up for the next thought leadership pyramid. So we would look forward to getting that work done with you. And that's another thing about the class is it's an accountability factor. Having people that you make a statement, I'm going to do this, and it tends to get done a little more likely than not having accountability. So that's fun. All right, so go ahead, enter your score into the survey. And now we'll get to level 5. And this is where you start taking a stand. This is not where you keep just mimicking or repeating what's already being said. You're being, oh, thank you, Mike. You are willing to be authentic, transparent, and vulnerable about business topics. Okay, remember, LinkedIn is one of the best social medias because we don't have to argue about politics or religion or all that crap. So I do recommend that you also have kind of a unique marketing proposition and that you start speaking to a customer's pain points. So for example, in my case, my about says, are you stuck? Are you tired of doing what you've always been doing and getting the same results? Are you ready to go to the next level in your life? And so that's how I start out. That's my marketing proposition. I can help you do that. And then you want to make sure you're monitoring and commenting on industry trends and developments. So, excuse me, other people and other things that are being published, make sure you're in the discussion. You're taking a stand. You're showing up. People are seeing you. They're starting to think of you as the go-to person. If I really want to know what the scoop is on LinkedIn, Cheryl's your gal, right? That's what I want them to think. So that's a good example of how to take a stand. Here's a good, this is Rosemary, back to Rosemary, our case study. And she's done an amazing job in this regard. For example, can you offer anything for free as a teaser, Marge? Yes, I guess. As long as it has value to the person you want to engage with. So yes, be creative. All right, so Rosemary jumped into the discussion about inauguration, and she used the symbology of the colors each person chose to wear. And she used that to explain and also reinforce that when you get dressed and ready for that presentation, that high stakes presentation, think about the color of your tie. Think about the color of your shirt, of your jacket. Those are things that she can give you some consultation on, and is sharing her expertise as she analyzes some of the highest ranking people in our country today and giving commentary. Now, she did get somebody say, oh, it's all politics, but she really wasn't. She was using it as a great example of colors and symbols. Oprah also, there was a blog where she wrote a blog about body language and color choices on Oprah. And so using her interview style, looking at her over many, many, many interviews, she basically delivered what she could ascertain about Oprah and her color choices and body language. So some great examples of somebody in the field of presentations. Look at you. Oh my gosh. Carrie is amazing. She just every time blows me away. Okay. So number 5, where are you on Take a Stand? Give yourself a score 0 to 10. How authentic, transparent, and when appropriate, vulnerable are you when communicating to your target market? How well have you defined what is unique about you and qualifies you and sets you apart from all of your competitors? And then how well do you speak to the pain points of your ideal targets? 7, Gab. Okay, this is good. I think that's one of your highest scores so far. So that's awesome. So you really are good at taking a stand. You're halfway there. That's awesome. We also recommend, because there are different learning types or different communication styles, some of us are visual, some of us are auditory, some of us like words, some of us like videos. We recommend mixing it up and having a variety. And there are some great tools out there to create polls, to even do a video on canva.com. Taking to pain points easy, taking a stand not so good. Okay, good, Marge. All right. Lastly, we're at the top. We want to talk about now it's time to get noisy. This is where you take your message, you take all of the systems you've built, you take your irresistible offer, you take your foundation, your lead nurturing customer journey, and turn up the volume. Here you've tried and tested all your irresistible offer. You know what works. You know what's good. Your content plan, you've created it, and it's focused all around your thought leadership. Yes, you plan your content. You have a actual calendar plan of what you're going to talk about when, because it's more likely to happen then. You also then work the plan. So you not only create it, you work the plan. And as I said, your goal here is to be so noisy, people can't think about LinkedIn tips or LinkedIn profiles without thinking Cheryl Cattell. I don't know if I'm there yet, but definitely I get a lot of unsolicited outreach. So I don't know. I'm not doing too bad. So I'm happy. All right. So in terms of this content strategy, I'd recommend you start with maybe 1 or 2. And you can do things like, in this case, Google. You can Google a topic, and then Google brings back these no-click search results, where if you click it, you can see the answer to what is voice over IP, and it lists the person where that content came from. And if you want more information, you can click on it. This feature alone has blown up a lot of websites. So if you can be a definitive resource, this is an amazing place to be. And you will also come up anytime searches come on LinkedIn. your LinkedIn content is indexed and is appearing on Google now. And so take advantage of that, right? So you have this big topic, such as, let's say, compliance. And then underneath that, you come up with clusters that will help you fill out your calendar. So you want to write a big overarching article and then have little pieces underneath it. So compliance in general covers this, 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 and this. And then the clusters are, let's talk about healthcare compliance. And that's all about HIPAA. All right. The next one is, let's talk about financial services compliance. And that's all about PCI. It's all about the SEC. So you see how both of them go up to compliance, but they can be branched out to be clusters. And then you want to cross-link, right? You want to take your HIPAA articles and cross-link it back to the main article. You want to take your main article and cross-link it down to the PCI or financial services. So again, this is what we recommend in terms of your content strategy. I actually, even in the files folder, I will go ahead and share. There's something called Calendar Planner. It's this. It's one tab for each month, and it has one day for each day of that month. I recommend you add the day of the week for the year that you're in and decide, I want to publish on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And this is the target audience I'm going for. This is the copy that I want to use, or title. This is a picture I want to use. Picture source, go to unsplash.com or Pexels, PEXELS.com. The largest concentration of royalty-free pictures on earth. And then you put where you're going to link it to. Is it going to go to your landing page, to your Calendly, to schedule a meeting, whatever it is? You can have themes and then always plan out your hashtags and @signs. So this is a great tool, and you can download it right now in the files section of Webinar Jam. This is an example of irresistible offers. So you want to have, in this case, Rosemary has master public speaking on Zoom and a checklist for powerful presentations. So these are some irresistible offers, and in order to get them, you just give her your email address so she can reach out to you. All right, last one. Let's see how you did. Let's get noisy. Give yourself a 0 to 10 in the chat and let us know how you are on mapping your customer journey and having a content strategy with umbrellas and clusters, and then planning your calendar and working the plan. So 5, Gev, okay, I love your honesty. That's great. So hopefully you can take one of the tools today to download that calendar and start planning. I'll tell you, it makes it so much easier to know what it is you're going to talk about than staring at a blank piece of paper. And I can guarantee you that your content is going to be much more organized and focused around your thought leadership. All right, now's the witching hour when you get to take all 7 of your scores and you add them up so that you have too embarrassing. You're looking forward to the class. We were looking forward to having you in class, Sharon. So here you can see what your score is from 0 to 70. And if you're not shy, go ahead and share it in the chat. All right, what is your score? I guess we have a drum roll, please. 49, not bad, Mike. Okay. All right, that's very good, actually. Let's see, as a percentage, I have to do this, 49 divided by 70, 70%. Okay, not bad. All right, but now you've got some ideas on how to get it back up higher, much higher. All right, well, I just wanted to end with a couple of, just to let you know, we do have a class that, as I mentioned, Marge is in right now. If you want to private message her, Sharon's going to be taking soon. And it's really a good class if you want to take these concepts and put them into practice and have some accountability to do that. It's 6 classes, 5 labs, 2 one-on-one sessions, about 19 live hours of instructions. And it's very exciting. and you get a great certificate, yeehaw, and a money-back guarantee. How could you go wrong, right? All right, so that's a little bit about it. I also want to leave with some thank you gifts. I will put this as also, I went ahead and uploaded it. You can go to bizhack.com LBE and download these, but I also, here it is, I will share the PDFs right now in the files section. I didn't want to share them all at once because it'd be too much. You get going around. All right, so that's it, I guess, for today, and appreciate you coming, and you already got the LinkedIn minutes, and thank you so much, Sharon and Carrie, for hosting.
Well, thank you so much. This was really info-packed. I'm dizzy, but I really am looking forward to your class, and hopefully we can find some money in our budget for Carrie to take a class as well. But thanks for joining us, Cheryl. This is really incredible. And thank you to all of our attendees for being active and participating. So we'll be posting this session on YouTube later. So you may wish to go online to our Resort Trades channel on YouTube to review this event later, kind of as a refresher. I'll be watching it again and again. And also while you're there, you might want to check some of our other dozens of interviews and presentations. And while you're there, or if you're on YouTube right now, please subscribe to our channel, comment or ask questions, and share this with your peers. This helps support us, this free to you effort. And we appreciate the community. Thank you.
It's a great service, Sharon. Thank you for doing it.
Well, thank you, Cheryl.